Okay, we should be rolling. This is the end of the shell build roundup video. What I thought I'd do is we'll go round the car, have a quick look before it goes off to paint, and then have a little review starting from the beginning when we got the car, and then I'll talk you through just a little bit of the journey that we went through to get it to this stage, hoping that my selfie stick works. You hold it right back and it works. Okay, that's working. I think I can see. Yes, I can. There's the shell, all done, as you saw in episode 30, not that long ago, just a few days ago when we launched that film. This film goes out on the live chat, so hopefully there's a box somewhere down there. Are you all typing away? Hello. Okay, good. Everyone's typing away. Right, welcome aboard. I'm going to talk about the shell, how it got there, what we did. It's about an hour, this film, by the way. An hour of Bramble ramble. I hope you can take it. Everyone else seems to do their videos and just throw videos up any old hour. I mean, I try and have tons of content, you know, like big epic productions that fail, you know. But yeah, big epic intros that people may or may not understand. I don't get them. Yeah, I do. There was film references all the time because I'm a big movie lover, so I'm always putting in film references. I don't know if everyone gets them, but they're in there. Alright, anyway, what I'm going to do with this film, I'm going to talk you through the tools that I used and what we were thinking and feeling when we built the shell. Okay, and any tips I can give along the way, I'm going to try and bang them in this film, alright? So, to start with, I would like to show you my favourite tools that I can't live without, and see if you agree these are the favourite tools you just can't live without. So we'll come off the selfie stick, go down and have a look at these tools first, then we'll sit in the car, set you up on the tripod, and we'll have a little chat in the car. And I've just spotted the cats outside. Let's hope the cats come in. Alright, cat is hunting something, but I don't know what. Right, tools first. Let's go down and have a look at these tools, and we'll see if you all agree and if you want to add anything that you think's essential. Okay, down we go. Right, let's move my chair that I'll be using very soon. Chair, by the way, comfy for when you're doing sat down welding jobs. Okay, C-clamps. Can't build a car without C-clamps. Couple of types you can get. These ones, these SMC C-clamps. These are kind of like auto adjusting, so you don't have to actually turn the thumb wheel on them, you just grip, and then there's an auto adjusting mechanism. You can adjust the grip pressure. They're not mega strong pulling two bits of metal together, so they tend to be for when you're assembling metal work that's a kind of gentle fit together. Sometimes with the other C-clamps, here they are, you need them to be really tight so it pulls two areas, for example the edge of your sill to the inner sill. You want to really pinch it in. Then I use these. If you just need to grip something quickly, I use those. So a couple of pairs of C-clamps, and then of course they're all in the different sizes. Machine Mart you can get these from, and then all your local welding suppliers for the stuff like Lockjaw and the SMC types. The Lockjaw ones I think are slightly better. Okay, so there again, they're self-adjusting. You just grip, push, clip and go. They're quite good. That size was used quite a lot. That one, used that quite a bit. I mean, you'll know what I use because you've watched the films. Aviation snips, essential of course for cutting out your little bits of sheet steel for your repairs, left and right handed. Larger C-clamp always needed. If that was used a lot, you need a long reach. These ones, they're okay. They're Machine Mart and they're a bit cheapy. And really you need decent ones. If I could find a good quality replacement for that, I'd get it. These little edge forming tools are handy for just shaping edges, your grip and you can form with those. Not mega essential, but they have their moments when you're just bending the edge of a piece of metal. Very good. Copper hammer, great for knocking bolts through without damaging the bolt head. The odd bit of plenishing. A little toffee hammer, always handy for like minute. You can get away with cheap versions of toffee hammers. This is a great little bit. It's like a block of metal, like a bar. I don't know what it used to be used for. It's cut off at the end. Great for shaping little bits of metal round. Great for putting behind a panel and knocking in stuff straight. It just comes in handy for all sorts. That's a great little piece of kit, but I don't know where you'd get that. Bolster chisel with the hand protector, very handy. This is great. This very fine. This is a Tame Tools one. Very fine edged chisel. Great for splitting metal. Use that a lot. Just don't want to. Don't try and split metal spot welds with these thickness. If you get thin, you can get in. Great. Over this side, you need a decent lump hammer, another size hammer, and then a plenishing hammer for knocking down flat spots, plenishing out metal. Don't use it as a normal hammer though. Designed for plenishing. That's an essential load of hand tools, and I put them all in a nice little plastic box and just slide it in to keep things out of the way at the end of the day when you tidy up. Some people have a pegboard rack, and that's a good idea, but I just found that to keep the space minimum clean, I put everything back in here. So before I do, is there anything else? There's a rubber hammer there. Oh, these are essential. Again, Tame Tools, long nose gripping pliers, decent quality pair. They've got me out of a lot of scrapes. Can't quite think just off the top of my head right now what scrapes I've got out of with these, but I've used them for so many things. Long nose locking pliers. So many things they got. They're a real top tip. Gotta be used. Wide bolster nose. C-clamps definitely. Get about 5 or 6 of these because they're good. I used them for the wheel arches, look. Gripping these while I was drilling. For setting out your metal, they're very good. Your butt clamps. These are great. You need a set of them. And they hold 2 pieces of metal together but leave the 1mm gap between for you doing your butt welding. Couldn't have lived without those. You'll see them if you go back on the vids if you're not sure how they work. Coming towards the end of the last episode, around episode 25, we're using these. Butt clamps are great. Good magnet, setting out magnet, great for just gripping stuff in. You can put it on the floor and then put 2 bits of metal together for making box section joins and stuff. That's good. I think hacksaws, funnily enough, I've probably never used a hacksaw, and you would think that you would. Different type again of, these are plug welding clamps, C-clamps again, but it leaves a gap for you to put your welder through the middle to do plug welding while it holds the metal together. They come as part of your kit normally with your C-clamp kit. I think that's really the main metalworking tools that I couldn't live without. So main metalworking tools that Cortina City couldn't have lived without are there. Back into the box, and I'll show you how my box works. I know it's a little bit, it's not really unorganised, it's just really put them in long ways. No, this isn't very interesting footage. Someone putting tools in a box, sorry about that. Close. And then I just slide that back in. And then I mark on what that box is, different boxes of course for different bits. Right, hand tools that was. What about electric tools, everybody? You can't live without a crock sander. We've talked about it so many times. This one's from B&Q for £24.99 on offer. I think they originally were 40 quid, but I think £24.99 is about right. Motor and brushes are alright on them. You never have a problem with that. Speed control's usually okay, but they also usually have it on full speed. It's a McAllister from B&Q, and you're using those, I think they're 115mm belts. No, they're not. I don't know what size belts they are. I get the belts separately from eBay called Kling Spur, the German belts, 60 and 80 grit. If you use the ones that come with the McAllister, they just don't last on metal. They're alright for doing woodwork, but for metal you need tougher belts. So Kling Spur, they make a lot of engineering tools and cutting tools. It'll last you a resto, this, if you take it easy with it. What you've got to watch and bear in mind is that bearing, bear in mind the bearing. Why does that happen? Bear in mind the bearing at the end gets hot. and it can fail. I've had 1 or 2 of these fail. In fact, I've had 2 fail. No, I've had one Black & Decker, 1 bearing fail, and this other McAllister bearing fail. And also that finger at the end there, the actual sanding finger body, contains the bearing. If you could get that replaced, find a replacement for the McAllister, I've looked and I can't find one, but you'd get a lot more life out of it. So that's what goes wrong. But in terms of the actual size, it's a good handy size, it's good speed, it has the power, and it does everything that you need. And I don't think you can do a restoration as anything as easy without one of those croc sanders. I call it croc sander, finger file, power file. Stuff like that you can get in here. You can just do plug weld grind downs and stuff like that. Obviously you try and do the bulk of the work with a disc, which we'll talk about the disc in a sec. Here's the disc, different types. This one's the what we call in this one the aluminium oxide type, not as harsh as the blue version ones. The blue version, which is a bit harsher. These aluminium oxide ones, not quite as hard. So you can get once it's on your grinder, knock the heads off your plug welds, then finish off with your crocky if you want. There's our grinder. I use a 4.5 Makita. I've had that since 1994 and it's still going strong. Blow it out with air at the end of a major session. Well, look, okay. Air blower, another essential item. A silent compressor or a low decibel compressor. This is a 59 decibel FIAC super silent. Very good, because okay, that's not that loud. Might sound loud to you. That's a good little piece of kit, that FIAC. I don't know the cylinder capacity of it, the literage. 80 decibel. What literage have we got, guys? Oh God, I don't think we can see from here. I'm having a look, but I can't see it. Should have the litres on, shouldn't it? Can't see it. It's going to take too long to mess about. FIAC, little FIAC. Porter pack is needed towards the end of the build, maybe during it. So oxyacetylene kit. That's about, just a little medium, what they call porter pack. And then there's the braze torch there. That's come in handy. It doesn't get used mega amounts, but it does have. It's nice to have it in the armoury. An extension lead. The ones on the reel not really needed. Eh? No. The ones on the reel not really needed. Oh, stop it! This is better. Use just a 5 metre extension lead in orange and get a double head. This is a single. I will find you always usually have two tools going. Oh no, please. 2 tools going. Orange so you don't trip over it. 5 metres, then hang it back up. So that gets us that corner of the workshop. I don't think there's anything else on my way. Drill, of course. I use a cordless. Nice, cheap. These are cheap and they last forever. Hot air gun for doing your pads and various other jobs. Jigsaw never needed. Reciprocating saw sometimes, not a deal breaker. Handy sometimes. Definitely a cordless drill. This one's a Bosch that I use. I've had no problems with this. It's had a lot of stick over the last few years. Made up with that. That was from Screwfix. I think it's about 70 quid. That's a nice piece of kit, that, actually. I really feel happy when I've got that gun around, this drill around. A light on it as well, which comes in dead good. So look what we can do. Okay. I like that drill. Do like that drill. Good cordless then. Welder needed. Now this is probably bigger than needed for what I was doing with a car. You can get a much smaller portable welder than this one, but I happen to use a Sealy Super MiG 195, and my settings most of the time, the wire speed I had set on between 2 and 3 on my wire speed, and obviously that's the pulse control there that we've never used. A position most of the time with 1 and 2, sometimes up to 3. Thicker metal all the way up to 6, but I used it on 1, 2 and 3 settings, mainly 1 and 2. I don't know what amperage that equates to, but that's where I used to use my welder. Again, blast down the weld. It's got a cooling fan if yours is air cooled, and clean the suction fan, the transformer cooling fan on it, because you get a lot of dust on those. You'll extend the life of the rectifier packs if you keep your cooling fan clean. And also, we just briefly did that, didn't we, on here. Get yourself a nice sprayer and just, alright, because that extends the life again of the product. These air intakes are needed just to keep everything cool. Draws air in. That was ready for a little clean down, that one. Extends the life of your tools. Keep your tools nice and clean. Same on all these power tools here. Blow them all down by the end of a marathon session. Most of those are the tools that have been used on this restoration. I'm looking around the workshop for you while we're on. Oh, here's something else. When fumes were present, I had a ventilated mask system. Didn't use it that much, but towards the end of the build, we had this power pack here, which is flat now, but it would force air into the hood. And if you had to go back and do something that had been painted, or there was a risk of fumes, because this shell was dipped, hardly ever got any fumes, but occasionally if something needed going over and some paint was on it, and you're in a confined space, then I'd use that helmet in the confined space. And a lot of the time it would help by having ventilation opening the doors. That was done a lot. So fumes is a thing. So from fumes we go to this mask here. A great mask, this. Really good. It's a 3M. They're calling it the 6898. You can take it all to bits and clean it all down in the sink. It all unscrews and all the internal parts and everything get cleaned out. You can get new cartridge filters, of course. It's great because you can use it for painting, and you can use it for when you're using your wire wheel. Those twisted knot wire wheels I've discussed a lot of the time, which are great for taking paint off panels, and you don't want to get the spiky bits that break off them. Those wheels. You want me to show you the wheels? I've shown you these before. There's a storage tray. They're handy for when you're building up your car. Laser level, you've seen that. Not essential, that's for OCD people. Wear your goggles. I didn't. Okay, drill bit box then. In here's all things to do with drilling down, drilling and sanding. There's them Klingspur 80 grit sanding belts, made in Germany, see. Okay, that's the ones, you can see them on eBay. They're great for the crock sander. Here's those wire wheels you need, some drill bits in there. We'll talk about the drill bits. There's the wire wheels. Look, those little bits of wire, they're great. This one was made by Norton. Good, that's a bit worn down, that one's ready to be chucked out really. But wear the mask for these when you're using these, because those little spikes come off and land in your cheeks. This covers most of your face. So if you use one of them, do not even think about using it without goggles, because you could get one of them little bits of wire breaking off at high speed and it can land in your eyeball, under your skin, anything like that. This is where this comes in. And because you've got a breathing mask on, any old paint that you're grinding off that's becoming airborne, you're covered by wearing this mask, because airborne paints, especially old ones, you never know what's in the old paints, leads or anything like that. So that mask really just keeps on going. It's got quick release straps as well. So once you lock it on, you just pull these ratchets, and then to get out to the mask later, you just pull that lever. It's dead easy to put on and off, and it doesn't fog up, which is great. So sometimes when you're wearing a paper mask, there's nothing wrong with these either, by the way, if you've not got goggles. But if you wear this with goggles and or glasses, you find for some reason you manage to steam yourself up. This doesn't happen with this type. These are okay if you're not having to wear eye protection, if you're just doing sanding or something, but these are better if you've got to wear your goggles at the same time. You don't get things sanding up. Okay, so that covers that. The electronic side of things we'll cover when we get closer to the next section, because part 30 was all about getting the shell built, which we did. We built the shell, all up those episodes all the way back from 1 to 30, Project Bramble, and we got ourselves a shell. I'm talking about the tools first before we move on to the shell. I'm just going to have a little scan around to see if there's anything else. A box full of cutting bits and drill bits, you need those. Get decent drill bits, don't get machine marked ones, are no good. I go to a proper engineering company and get proper drill bits. That's not my drill bit collection, that's odds and sods, but decent drill bits will help with cutting compound if you're going for larger holes, just to save the life. And I think the last safety item, I was disappointed with these, not that I don't want ear protection, because you've got to have ear protection. Any power tool that you use, most jobs that you're doing, even if you're just knocking with a hammer, I reckon always get into the habit of putting these on. Because what you don't want to do is go to bed at night after you've been working on your car and then you can hear ringing noises in your ears. That's not a good sign. Especially angle grinding, wire wheeling, crock sanding. They're the main things you need the ear defenders for. Angle grinders are well over the 120 decibel limit, 110. Someone might know the actual sound output, but it's going to vary depending on what you're grinding. But to suffice to say that the hairs in your ears, they're not going to last forever. The way that your ear works, and that those little parts inside the cochlea and further down into your near your drum gets damaged by consistent exposure to noise. So just for what it takes, these are what, 15 quid? You can even get cheap ones and chuck them for 5 quid. Now, these were expensive and I'm a bit disappointed, so perhaps it's worth taking note of this, everybody. Moldex, right, they're meant to be a renowned safety company, and they bragged on the box, you know, these are fantastic, hard wearing and all that. Comfortable, yeah, okay, they were comfortable, but look, why have I had to tape and cube bond them together? That's not good, and that's because I dropped them on the floor. These should have been able to withstand being dropped. How many times is that going to happen? A lot. Alright, so Moldex ones, I'm not recommending them. Very disappointing. In fact, I'm going to talk to Moldex and I actually want these replacing, because that shouldn't have happened, and out of goodwill they should replace those, because you should be able to drop them. And I tell you what, it wasn't that far. It just, you know, like this, you know, I'm going to do it again because I'll break this side. So really I need some more. You find with ear defenders that you tend to clip them in places, like I've noticed this, clip them there, and then you'll go do another job and right, we need ear defenders again, and you'll not be able to find them. They always were going missing. So at the point where I nearly decided to buy a few pairs, you know, of those ear defenders, because I kept mislaying them. It was like car keys, not that I smoke, but cigarette lighters, biros, where do they all go? These are in that ballpark. I tended to get into the habit of always putting them there, and it helped. I do that with my keys in the house. I always hang them in the same place, and 9 times out of 10 that saved me. So for stuff like that, always hang it in the same spot and get into the habit of hanging it in the same spot. And when you finish a day's work, vac up, and that takes us nicely to Henry, which I can't live without. Here's a tool that there's just no way, whoever invented this, made by Pneumatic, I think called Pneumatic, who are they called? Yeah, Pneumatic make it. Henry then, we all know him, it's anamorphosized of course, but that makes it more fun. What a great piece of kit. Okay, quick release, both sides, twin bag, HEPA bag, quick release. What's he packing? Is he a 350 watt? Packing a 350 watt motor? I'm not sure, I'd like to know. Answers on a postcard what wattage Henry runs at. Not printed on him. Henry, what do you run at, mate? Give me some wattage, hit me with some figures, baby. And I even clean Henry out. I blast the air in there and clean him out there. Now he needs a clean down. I'd like to just clean the body of him now, we're mainly done, but we'll do him later on. You know how a Henry works, you unclip the top of it and then the bag goes inside. Let's do it. I just love the way it's so easy to use, it's just so nice. From time to time you can wash this pre-filter. There's your bag. Okay, now that's a HEPA bag. That's an acronym, I think, to do with the particle size of the dust. So basically no dust escapes once it's gone into this bag. It stops this from getting too heavily clogged. And this has done some serious work, and that's not chucking out loads of dust. It's all contained within there. Don't know what that is. All contained within this bag, and then you just chuck that bag when you're done. Bags aren't expensive for them. What a great piece of kit. Who invented that? It's so easy to use. It just lasts forever. Yes, you can burn the motors out. I have had one with a burnt motor. Hardly ever see them at the tip. And when you go to tip, it's full of Dysons. Hey? Why do I went to tip the other day. I went to tip the other day, and I came out. Hang on a second. I need to talk to you. Here we go. I need to talk to you. I went to tip the other day, and this ain't a joke. This sounds like I'm setting up a joke. No. I went to tip the other day, and it's full of Dysons in the electronics, in the electrical skip. Not a Henry in sight. No, because Henry's too good. He just come on, Henry. Yeah, he makes me happy. He really does. So that's great. So you hoover up at the end of the day. And by the way, when I did go to tip, I ended up coming back with an old retro teak Garrard record deck worth a fortune. Someone had thrown it away with records and instruction book. A Garrard deck. Look up your record players and check out Garrard units. They're the best. One of the, well, not the best, but they're very nice mid-ranged turntable. Anyway, that's another story, going to tip and bringing more stuff back than you take. Henry then will help you hoover up. He comes with a little hoover attachment and also with a standalone. There it is down there, larger area. Totally recommend cleaning up at the end of a heavy session. You're going to get covered in dust. Excuse me. That's not the dust. So vac up at the end of the day. Brush all your car down. Use the airline to blow all the dust down, then vac up. You know, and it just helps you the next morning when you come in. Okay, I'm not mega tidy today. It's not a pigsty in here, but it's going to get better now. We're moving out. Beginning of the day then, nice and tidy. What could be better than that? Okay, so that is some of my essential tool roundup. While you've been typing away, this is the kind of film that you can work on the live chat as well, because you're not really going to miss anything if you're doing your replies in the chat box there on the YouTube. You can just be listening to me rambling on. But throw your questions in. If you're not putting any in, you're just watching now, there's a little scroll box there. Go in and ask me a question. I'll try and type as quickly as I can. Okay, so we welcome everyone aboard in the chat section there on this YouTube premiere video going out. Talking about the shell then, because we've moved through, we're 25 minutes in. We started at the end. We started in December 2018. It is now October 19. So we're still within a year to do the shell. A year with plenty of space to clear. Started by stripping it all back. You'll see it on the films. You know what happened. And we'll talk about that. I'm going to take a seat in the car and we're going to discuss the building this shell now for another 15 or 20 minutes, if you can put up with it. But before I start my Bramble ramble, I'm going to take you around the car so you can refresh your memories on where we're at, simply because episode 30 didn't really give you a complete continuous walk round. So let's do that now. Let's have a continuous walk round of the car, starting from the front, which is where we left off in episode 30, because we'd shaped in, if you recall, these nice little nose cones. Okay, so it's had an upper panel, lower front, upper front, second-hand wings but repaired. It's had second-hand inner wing repairs. These bowl sections that always rot down at the front behind you that collect stuff like they are. They're off the Portuguese shell. We'll talk about that donor shell. Portuguese shell was a scrap shell that came in from, obviously, Portugal, imported by myself. No engine, no logbook written off. No way it'd ever go back on the road without logbooks. So it'd been T-boned and smashed up and then badly bashed out and repaired. But they'd bought all the forward panels. For example, this is the roof off it. They'd bought all the forward panels on this Portuguese shell, then just migged them on, just blob, 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 so you almost just popped everything off. They'd put brand new door on that side, so that's the brand new door. This was a brand new door skin too, but even though it was a new door skin, it still began to rot, would you believe? So we got doors off it, we got the bonnet off it, that was a new bonnet. Must have had a heck of a smack. The floor was all rippled, so I didn't really use much off the floor. It was all just rippled and hammered straight and covered in black goo. And the whole car was twisted and bent. So obviously I was never going to use that shell, and obviously because there's no logbook with it, and it was such a mess. So it got chopped up and used to supply parts for this. Indeed, this is the quarter wing off it, which quarter wings for these new old stock are virtually impossible to get hold of passenger side. So we used that and straightened it up. It's turned out quite nice. So Portugal donated. We then worked our way into the bulkhead area. Had to have a new bulkhead, you know about. It had a new scuttle, it had the new roof, the new doors, the new floor outers from express steel panels, both sides. Let's go in and see. You saw this if you went to the NEC show last year in March, or this year in March. Sorry, this year in March, where I worked on the floor and then I hadn't got this far. All the way into the floor then, look. Including like spot weld dimples when I can get them. Nice impressions in the floor bungs poking into the tar pads. Those tar pads just gone on there, not painted in, because I was welding up the automatic Granada gearbox mounts, which are in a different position than a normal Cortina. So I didn't want to have tar pads fitted while I was welding up. I knew I'd have to do that. So I left the tar pads off. Now I've done the gearbox mounts as you saw on earlier vids, and then put tar pads on. This is getting painted in silver, so I've left the tar pads ready to receive silver paint. Dashboard, so that's come out good. Dashboard top and bulkheads, all the bulkhead done and all sealed in properly. All the seam seal around the joints, and an extra seam sealer in there in areas where you can potentially get wind noise. I've done extra seam sealing because there is a few design faults on Cortinas that I noticed when I was doing this one. A couple of design faults, especially in the inner scuttle area. They're supposed to have sealant beads inside here, and I know that it's supposed to have it because I found it when I took it apart, and so I've added that and added some extra. Wind noise can get up between these gaps here. It's under pressure in this plenum from ram air, and then if this is a poor fit along the edge here, then the ram air pressurizes this cavity or chamber, and then will leak out of these gaps. And although you've got a windscreen rubber on there, it can still get under and you can hear noise. I know that because I've had a stethoscope out on one of my other cars and I've heard that noise. It was on Swampy. Because Swampy got dipped, it lost some of the sealant beads, and that creates noise. So what I did, I took the triangles out here and I went in with a long tube and a pump gun, and I pumped it full of sealant and it stopped it. So you've got to make sure that the sealant goes in when you're replacing panel work around here. You've got to look at every join on the scuttle area and plug any possible exit into the car. The quickest way to soundproof a car is to find any hole to the outside world. So bulkhead grommets are important, and panel seals are important. So we're going to make sure this car is well sealed up, and indeed it's on its way to being well sealed up. So that's the bulkhead area. We can come back. There's the doors. They've got puddle lights in. There's the puddle light. Questions on the puddle lights. They are right like that, away from the glass that's going to come down. So I did it right. Here comes your glass there. Bulb points away from the glass. Although it looks like the beam's pointing outwards, funnily enough, this light actually shines backwards. So that has worked. Whether they're in the Granada that way round, I don't know. But for me, they've worked perfectly that way. So we're good there. Brazing went back in on the door edges and then the join lines. You know that I had to drill all these whole panels out. We know underneath is extensively clean and rebuilt. Let's go under before we sit in the car and talk about the mental aspect of it all. Under we go. nice and clean. And sometimes when I go under here, I'll have a little cat nap. I just find it quite cosy and comforting to be underneath my car looking at things. And do you know what, it's weird because when you have your cat nap or your little daydream under here, or a nightmare if you're thinking about all the spot welds I had to put into that to get that. These were salvaged off Portugal and other shells as well. 120 spot welds or something on them, and then they had to be joined and staggered because this is 2 sections. Go back on the films if you never saw that, because it was a mammoth task. Alright, all replaced, all new. There's the gearbox mount. You can see the gearbox pan, just cross member just hanging off them. They look good. But yeah, you have a little cat nap when you're under here. At least I do. And I just find it quite cosy. That's because I'm crazy, probably. Let's hope someone else feels the same way. Just kidding. Right, let's carry on. Very nice, very neat. Bit close. Camera works rubbish. Sorry about that. Look how all the panels turned out nice. Look how the seam sealer just goes into all those little crevices and just looks the part. Even the dimples there for the filler neck are still pronounced and looking good. So for me, we've hit my level where I'm happy. Out of the car we go. We're on the backup camera, hence the marks on the lens. And now I'm going to sit down and have a last minute chat with you two, because we've got an hour's worth once we've looked in the boot, and we'll have an even more Bramble ramble. I'll talk about the mental aspect of it. Before we do that, let's take you in. There's a full review and an excuse for us to have a chat, maybe talk about the NEC. NEC's coming up in November. I'm going to be there. Okay, so you're right through the car then. You can have a proper look. Selfie stick's handy for this. Hopefully not too shaky for you, as I'm just doing this in one continuous film, so I don't have to edit much down. And now down here we go, into the boot to see the works we did, looking back and reviewing on that lovely journey we've just had up to 30 episodes. Remember the filler neck, the little jack bracket there, the seam sealer on our new floor, our new boot floor. These floor bows aren't seam sealed in yet or glued in yet, because they come out for the body shop to do the sanding and filling. They go in last minute when he's flattened everything down. Sound pads in for extra quietness. Around you go. All the details I can try and get, or I've tried to get in, including lining up the reg plates nicely. Nice dimples. The spot welder really has come into its own. We couldn't mention the spot welder because it's been borrowed by somebody. So the spot welder is another essential tool. Didn't mention that. You got your MIG and you got your spot welder. I'll have to get the spot welder back because I need it actually for something. So spot welder as well. Can't recommend you one. Mine was a Sealy one. They are good. They're not cheap. That's the only problem. So look out for second-hand units perhaps to help. So that's the review round the car. We've done the car now. Let's go down the other side. So we've not looked down that side. Let's look at the coach lines. Oh, we can't look at the coach lines. The door's open. Hold on. Doors still bedding in on the rubbers. Still got to give them a nice 1-2. Buckle my shoe! To get them to close. Sorry about that. I mean, wake you up. You were asleep then. Alright. Coach lines I'm happy with. The way that it works, I'm happy with all that. That's the way it is. And now we go round. We know the engine bay is good. It's great that it kept its original engine stamp. We didn't have to affect. That's the original inner wing with his chassis number on. That's great. No need to alter that or put a new inner wing on it. Round we go. This side just as straight as that side. Couple of little bits and dings and little bits where it's going to need filler, and they'll tend to just probably put a lot of filler in here then take a lot of it off. I can feel ripples. You drive it as a rat look and you'd be good, nice and solid. But yeah, you can just see on there the light reflecting off it, looking quite straight. Can we get down? There's your sill gap. Curiously, two doors have a larger gap. There's nothing you could do. You get that gap any smaller and the bottom of the door hits the sill, so that is the way that it is, and it lines up with all the coach lines. Brilliant. And then again with parallel gaps on the bottom of the door this side. Parallel gaps going up this side. Here we open up a little bit. I don't mind that. Then parallel down. Yes, you could add a little bit of weld rod there. But it's the same this side. I'm going to leave them symmetrical. Okay. I just don't want to make it too completely. I want to leave a little bit of imperfection. That sounds mental, but just a little touch of the odd imperfection. If it's symmetrical imperfection, I can handle it. Help me. OCD's taking over. Same there. Opens out. Then parallel down we go. A bit tight down here. There's the axle on the floor, by the way. You saw that in earlier videos. It's been shot blasted, and that is Frost Extreme Chassis Black. Sets like rock. It's mental stuff. Frost Extreme Chassis Black. For the axle, there's loads and loads of parts arrived. Just a fraction of what we've got in stores now is over here. For example, look, $5.95 for a track rod end. Wow. Local motor factors. Alternator, 89 quid, brand new. Oh no, it was 90. It came out at 100 quid actually. It's a 75 amp alternator. Don't use ACR 17s, they're absolutely rubbish. Want to break down? Fit an ACR 17 Lucas alternator on your Cortina. Guarantee it, the regulator pack will fail. Okay, so I think that's it. Let's close the boot. Boot should close very nicely. Let's just see if it's now bedding itself in a little bit. I don't want too much pressure. I want palm on my hand, centre of the boot. Yes, and thank you and good night. Gaps there, good. We built up a little bit here because the way that this wing fits when it joins this gutter and bottom of your windscreen is concaved out a little bit. That sits in it, and the factory used to lead fill that, and hence you have to just build that little level up. I've just put one skim in so that I knew this trim would fit. The body shop then sculpt that how they like. Same on the other side. Badges were done. Some very strong Alusoft filler went in there. That's a metal based Alusoft. Let's take you to Alusoft because I recommend this stuff too. Where is it now? Seal, clean, paint, sand and fill. Fill! Right. Move the spirit level. So we're going to open this up in one take. There's the Alusoft. Dinner Trolls Alusoft 60/30. Like rock. Totally waterproof, metal based fill. Also for anything that's going to get chipped, glass fibre stuff's always good. That's little areas of an edge of somewhere you needed to build up glass fibre. Rest of your filling equipment I used, sorry, should have shown you that. I use this tube based stuff. U-Pol, that's the Dolphin. I also do it in just a fast, easy sand. Good in the tube. Squeeze out, good to go. Anything to do with sanding and fillings in that box keeps it out of the way, keeps myself organised. 1, 2. I buckle my shoe back on there. Now it's time for me to chat. I'm going to sit, open this door, sit there, stick the camera on the tripod, and we'll wrap this film up for you. I might have a quick look at the other two cars before we go. We'll go and do that now first. I'll just show you how the other two cars have held out. Did we go underneath here? We didn't. Let's go underneath here then. So, Gravitex on with a silver finish Technogrip paint, which is zinc based again, but very, very tough stuff. Washable and wipeable rust proofing agent on it, even though the Gravitex is over the metal, but if there's any bits the Gravitex have missed and the Technogrip had landed on it. Extensively coated, we rebuilt the wings, we've sealed everywhere we can. There's bead sealer to go on when we assemble it, but that goes on later. Anyway, I'm sort of going to have a little wander around, get a bit of a recharge on the battery, talking a bit fast because I'm trying to keep it going for you. And before we settle down for a chat about the mental challenge of Bramble, a quick look at the boys and girls in the stables. Swampy and Ruby together, just side by side. Swampy holding out good, Swampy holding out real good, and those parts I was telling you about, the stockpiling up. Here's a starter motor, here's some Spax adjustables, here's some brand new brake discs, here's upper and lower ball joints, stacks of stuff everywhere, goodies galore, tubing ready. Quick yeah. What else? There's loads anyway, there is tons of stuff. You just gotta take it from me. We're stockpiling. Swampy then, still holding out nicely. There's the interior, and he's looking good. Real good for Swampy, real good for Swampy. Let's have a look on his engine bay and see how his engine bay's held out. Paint's still nice, a couple of touch-ups I've had to do, but that finish still good after all this time. Tried to look after it the best that I can. Engine bay, I've just got to balance. I've done it. Managed to get the bonnet to stay up with one hand. Engine bay and a little bit of touching up to do on that little steel inlet trumpet there. It's just faded out. But other than that, Swampy survived nicely. And he's very clean. And surprising, this is the Gravitex. We said we'd go out and have a look at the Gravitex, and I didn't do it on the last film. It's a bit dark, isn't it, everybody? I'm rubbing against the paint now. A bit too dark, perhaps, to do that. I wish I could have shown you the Gravitex. Ruby's bay then, holding out for a hero. So surprisingly easy to keep the bays clean. You'd think with all the miles you're throwing on them that they'd soon start deteriorating. A couple of little things, that sticker decal there's peeled, but everything else for a good couple of seasons, season and a half. I think we're all right. We've picked up some stone chips on this one, as we did on Swampy as well. There's one along here somewhere, quite a few on the lower valance. Catches them quite a bit. Some clear film needed for that, I reckon. Somewhere where I left a spanner on it, but other than that it's okay. Engine bay lamp, I've got it disconnected at the moment simply because I had the bonnet up for some reason, can't remember. I didn't want to drain the battery with the bonnet light on. But yeah, there's the two. So we're heading for a quality level on Bramble equaling to these. So we can do it. I'm sure we can. Let's go back now and see. Oh, let's have a look inside Ruby again in the interior. So that's what that interior is going to be getting recreated in Bramble. I know it's not a GXL wheel, but I happen to like that skinny wheel. Alright, and tidy in the back. There's probably some gubbins in the back, but all there, all ready to go. Let's go and talk mental challenges now. Oh, right, Sean gets the pop and the coke and the fish and chips, and I get the rabbit food. Radishes and coconut water. Right, where were we? Just saw them. You just saw Swampy and Ruby. This is Bramble. This is my quick. I'm gonna put my leg on there because it might shake the camera. Boom. Yeah, glass is okay. Yeah, I can see it. Right, what happened? This wasn't for sale. It was in a field in Tewkesbury. Bramble was in a field in Tewkesbury. Marky Mk3 from the Mk3 Owners Club tipped me off. I said, yeah, I'll have that. It looks good. Initially, they wouldn't sell, so I wanted to get on and build a car because I'd just finished Swampy and I wanted to keep going. Little Nootster got me a nice body shell, Ruby. It was pick any colour you want because it's basically a blank canvas, body shell, logbook, a few bits with it, loads of bits and goodies with it. Fancied a maize yellow car, so built a maize yellow one. That was all done. It's all documented on YouTube. Whilst that was going on, this then came up for sale. The owners originally didn't want to sell, then they did sell, or did decide to sell, so I shot down there and picked it up. Again, it's on YouTube, all those collection videos of it. But I picked it up and then just ran it for a couple of years because I'd already started another car, and what I didn't want to do is get halfway through one and leave it, even though this is the main car I wanted to do. Had to see Ruby through to the end, and Ruby was a good test bed because Ruby interior, came out of the factory in Silver Fox, automatic with a red Ruby interior on a GXL 2-door, which that's a very rare combo on an auto. Genuine automatic. Thought Ruby's been a good test bed for testing all the colour scheme out for when we refurb the colour scheme. So I've learned where to get the paint from, I've learned how to mix the colours and all that. So it's been great doing Ruby because now we are pre-armed with all the info, leads, tips, tricks, connections, contacts to do a nice interior on this. And indeed we've just secured a nice Australian carpet which the colour match is just wow, it's just so good. So everything's in place. Some parts, you just saw a sneak preview of the bits, it's all ready to go. But we got to the shell build in 30 episodes starting in December this year, so we've not even clocked up a year, and the rotten shell, should be able to get a picture. Now I should be able to overlay you the picture of it when it's come out of when it comes out of the oven at the dippers. They burn all the paint off first in an oven, gradually increasing the temperature, it doesn't warp your car. I haven't got a picture when it comes out of the tank, but there's a video of it coming out of the tank. But we've got some still shots. I'll bring them down put them up for just 30 seconds. Hopefully they're on the screen now. So it was absolutely shot. I mean, you know, scuttles just about savable, inner wings just about savable. Not scuttle, front slam panel. Scuttle was looking good but gone. So we had to change everything on this. You saw the walk around on this clip just earlier on, what we've actually had to put into it. And if you look at the whole job in one go, then it's going to overload you. And this is where you might pick up on this, because if you're out there getting a classic car project, if you don't want to go through what I've just done, then try and get one that's the best ones I reckon are unfinished projects, because at least you know what you're up against with those. When you tend to buy a car that's been down a driveway in a field, especially in a field, you never know what's going to happen as you start to unpick it all. And that's what happened with this. As we started to unpick it, it just became bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you are getting something, try and get it within your capabilities, you know. Usually unfinished products are better. So look at just one bit at a time. I did this by just looking at the front, inner wings and nothing else. Didn't think about anything else. So of course you need to think about the bigger picture initially, because you need to be pre-ordering panels so that you can keep your momentum going. So there is a point where you do have to look at the whole view, the whole picture of the car, and try and really list out in the first phase of it if you, let's say we call building the body shell phase 1, then for phase 1 you were going to need X amount of panels, X amount of cutting discs, welder, and all those items. So you'd list those and think about it all, and that's when it would look daunting, because you're thinking, I'm going to need all these panels, because you do need to get them ready in stock in case they're hard to get hold of. You need to start shopping around like well ahead of when you're going to start the project. Then go back to that focused in point, put the parts away, then just start area at a time and do a really good job of that area. So if you do a really mint job of just one little bit, at least then when you clean up at the end of the day and photograph it or take a photograph it, take a picture, take a video, and then you can look at that clip and think, yeah, that's really nice, that bit. Even if the whole rest of it's all gone and blitzed and looks like there's no hope, you've done one great little repair, and you can be proud of that piece, which then spurs you on to do the next block. And that way you can slowly build your way out, work from the front to the back or back to front, however you want to do it, little sections at a time, and don't think of it all too much, and do tidy up at the end of each session, so that when you come in the next day or the next weekend, that it's clean and you feel like starting. It's an advantage if you can get your workshop reasonably warm and well lit, and best that you can. That helps, especially if it's a winter project. Good lighting is essential. If you don't want to burn loads of power, loads of lights, and these are LED ones, get some good LED tripod lights and just put them in the area that you're working. At least then wherever you're working is well lit. So you need to be well lit, prepared, all your tools ready, your safety stuff ready, your workshop clean and a way of cleaning it up later, all your tools that you think you're going to need, then a way of putting your tools back safely away. Then you start. Well, I'm just going through how I did it anyway. Everyone will have their own way, but by doing that little zoned in bit and not thinking of the entire car, it helps you not to get completely burned out and overloaded. And then with your phases, shell build first, and then trim build or wiring build, engine build, subsections, and at least you're not going to get overloaded with those. And that way you can put the shell to one side, then when the engine's done, put that to one side, and modules begin to build up as you work on your next part, and you eventually end up with a kit of parts, which come the great day when you can put them all back together. If you want to keep it in a time frame, so set your target time frame and then try and work within that. So I set a target time frame for this of 2 years. I think we're going to do it within that, but I set that buffer, those end stops, bookends, so I could work within it, and I'm going to hopefully achieve that target. If you want to do a video blog of it and raise funds, you can do Patreon or you can do YouTube. It's difficult. Patreon's good. YouTube's harder. YouTube is difficult to get going. It's difficult to get your subscribers going, and then you've got to put up with all this and thumbs down. So you need thick skin for the crazies, or mainly the jealous people. You've got to just let them go over your head. I mean, they're good for interaction anyway. Don't forget that anything that comes in, whether it's good or bad, although 99.99% people are well adjusted and aren't psychopaths, but if you do have all that kind of interaction, negative interaction, it doesn't harm the channel at all. It actually benefits it, because if you didn't have any negative stuff, I usually think something's not quite right. The bigger you get, the more it comes in. So just bear that in mind, that you need to be able to accept that people are going to tear into you, and they will do, because you cannot please everybody, and you can't expect to be pleasing everybody either. And I wouldn't want to anyway. And people say to me, this Cortina's a pile of beep, and that's a pile of beep, and you're a beep, and your clothes are beep, and it doesn't really. I just think that's good. It's good that just someone's actually come to look on the channel. It doesn't really matter if you say all them things. They've come onto the channel and they've clocked the views up, even if it was only for a second, and they've got a right to say those things, and I don't really, it's just part of it. So you might get that if you're doing a video log. I think, those are the main things. This, in the mental challenge, mental health state's challenging. It can begin to make you can, if you work too hard at it and never let it get out, it can overtake your life and it can just consume you, and it's all you're ever thinking about, and work can suffer, family relationships and stuff can suffer. So you have to budget your time as well. That's important as well. Time's probably one of the biggest ones, and try and still look after yourself, still try and get your sleep, still try and see family. I know that a lot of people have got big family commitments, and that does take a lot of time, and that has to be done. But there is still time to do your hobby, and there is still time to build a car. You know, just not gonna let it take over. It can take over, and I've seen it, and I've been close to it. And I mean, if you look at me bloody videos, you know, it looks like I'm cracking up half the time with those, you know. So mental health, you've got to stay tough. You've got to be patient as well. Well, that's a big word, isn't it? You know, patience. When you're doing, you know, spot welds, showed you those spot welds before on the chassis legs. You know, you've got to be patient to drill all them out, and things might not work, but it will work. It's only metal. It will work. You will get there. And there's people out there, and that's another advantage of YouTube, of course. If you were going to do your channel, at least you've got support out there. You can put requests out. You're going to reach a lot of people eventually when your channel grows, which has happened to me. So it's thanks to the patrons and the YouTubers and all the support which they give you. I can't always reply back. I do try and reply back, but they'll come on. Mainly good stuff. Sometimes they might recommend it differently than how you do it, but on the whole, pretty good shared information that you can draw from. That's a great thing about the internet. I don't really big fan of social media, so my only social media really would be YouTube. I think it's more in your control, YouTube, as opposed to, I don't know about Facebook. I was on Twitter for a while, but I don't like that. Facebook, no. Can't see really, other than, I mean, it's how you use it, I suppose. Everything's how you use it. And but my social media is just YouTube, and that means you can meet a lot of people, get the advice. So, you know, if you're thinking of doing a channel, it's not a bad thing. But don't forget, editing takes a while. For me, I'm quite disciplined. I'm quite mentally focused. Manage to do time management good, and have time to do all the stuff in life and the car and the videos, just about. But it does start to get, it can get a bit heavy. I've had times where the biggest thing I've found was when it all stops and your hands are wanting to do something, usually welding. When the welding stops, I'm like, you know, I want to weld and I want to grind. That's my favourite. That and electrics. Don't like paint, don't like filling, don't like gapping. Although I've done it good, it is gapped good, but I don't like it as much as building an electronic kit and welding, grinding back, cutting, shaping. But when that ended, I was like, oh no. I mean, and that's only recently hit me quite hard, because you can tidy up, you can redecorate just to try and keep things going. But I'm ahead. I've got everything in line, and I'm slightly ahead. So I actually had spare time, would you believe, where I thought this time needs to be used to the max. And I don't mean work myself to the bone. I'm just saying constructive use of this time, because I don't watch telly. So I'd either go to the gym, or I'd just carry on cleaning up, or make a few more phone calls connected with some of the parts. Like I'd ring the chromers to ask them how's the bumpers looking, because there's a lot of stuff out there at the moment. There's plastic chroming out there, all the nuts and bolts and galvanising, everything's all going to land. It looks like it's all going to land around the same time, well before the car's painted, which means we can get on with building the clip, the engine, and all those other things. The body shop, people asking about the paint. Let's talk about the paint. Silver Fox is dull. It's too dull, don't like it. Needs spicing up. Stardust Silver's good, so I'm looking into Stardust Silver. So we want to make this a brighter, punchier silver. And I don't care if it's Concourse and it should have been Silver Fox. No, it's a silver car and it's Silver Fox is too dull. Go and have a look at some Silver Fox vehicles, don't look good. So that's the thing. When I say they don't look good, I'm not knocking someone who's got Silver Fox vehicle. I just think that it doesn't pop enough for me. If you're doing this, you can do like the Mark 1 Escort in Silver Fox, quite flat, but it suits it. If it's just a basic L-spec car, this needs something to lift it. It's got all the chrome, it's got all the goodies on it, it's got a nice interior going to be in it. It needs to really be a good, shiny silver, so we need to work that out. We need to work out the paint shade that we're actually going to use, because it'll be away for paint next week, Monday. Today's Friday, and we've got then 3 months, okay, to paint it. How come so long? Keep the cost down. This thing costs, trying to always keep the cost down. They have time between jobs, sometimes only half a day, sometimes 3 days between jobs, where they'll drop onto the car rather than book it in as a block. So that means that they're using their idle time on this, which means that I get a slightly discounted price, which helps. That's why it's 3 months. I don't need it in here for 3 months anyway. I've got to build all the wiring harness, the engine loom and everything else, and lay it all out as a kit of parts. For the engine loom, I'm going to be putting boards down on the floor and pegging it and laying the wires out on a peg system so I can wrap it and zip it. Not zip tie it, but wrap it and do what I've got to do anyway. So I want room in here. So I want it out for 3 months, suits me. And then I'll then go through every little part that I've got. Hopefully we've covered everything in terms of all the components. It'll need a vinyl roof, but I think I've got that covered. I've actually got the vinyl roof. It'll need headlining and all these kind of things, and all the parts putting back, just like we did with Project Ruby. You saw most of the assembly video covers all the, most of the video covers all the assembly on Project Ruby, so do the same with this. This project's been bigger than Ruby was, but not far off the same amount of films. If we think about episode 30 now, I would say that's we're over halfway, so probably just a little bit over halfway. I'd expect it to come out to about episode 55, maybe even 60, but probably episode 55 will probably be the last one. Could be episode 50. And it's the 50th anniversary of the Cortina soon, the Mark 3. Next year, I think. I should know that. Hang on, let's work it out. 1970, well, if you said 71, 1970 to 2020, it's next year. That's 50 years. So that's it. Just wanted to mention those things, give you a quick chat about the mental process. We'll wind this video in now. I think it's coming in about an hour, typing away and saying hello. So the video purpose was just to get something on a premiere so we can have a little chat this evening. I don't know if it's going to go out on Friday night or Monday night. Could be Monday when you're typing away. And I'm sorry that what time it goes out, about 7:30, 8 o'clock. Australia will be behind in time, although there's a big time gap in Australia anyway, the size of the blooming place. Australia's a big viewer, America. Most of our viewers is on the stats of YouTube are UK, but there's quite a few in America and Australia, so I'm sorry about the time difference there. Maybe we'll do one at a different time if it's a success, if it's popular. That's it. Stay mentally strong. It's a tough challenge sometimes. Time, money, mental strength, bit of discipline, bit of time management. These are the things. Sounds all corporate, doesn't it? It doesn't need to be, it's just a car. But depends if you want to do it. Some people will budget 10 years to do it. That's good, because then you wouldn't need to time manage anything. It's just because I've set some hard goals, I suppose. And also I want to use the car too, because we're all getting older and the roads are changing, people's regulations are changing. Some cities don't want the emission controls. They don't want old cars in there, although a lot will exempt classics. You don't know what's around the corner. You don't know what they're going to do. They don't want these things on the road, and they'll try and get us off the road. So really, when you think about that, you need to get moving and get on the road, because we're getting older, and what can you do? I want to get out and get this thing cruising, and then rotate the cars, because I'll do 2 months in this, 2 months in Swampy, 2 months in Ruby, 2 months in Tina G, round we go, and I'm going to rotate all the cars round so they all get an equal hammering. You know, I don't want to store the other cars away. If it came where I stored the other cars, I'd sell them. TC I may sell. If someone offers me the right price for TC, I may sell that car. A lot of people asking, are you going to do it up? But it's another 2 years, you know. I've got to accept to myself, right, in you go for another 2 years. And I've nowhere to really store it. It's got to have its cover back on any minute now. We're coming into winter, so I'm going to wrap it up in the storm cover. And then I can't get to it. It's been good as a fill and prop car. I like it myself. If I didn't have all these other cars, yeah, I'd be running around in TC. But I don't know. The jury's out on TC. But if someone out there said, I'll give you X amount for it, it's going, and that's for sure. Because I could do with the money to fund this. I could do with the space. And I could do without thinking, oh no, there's another 2 years gone. Although I would enjoy it, and I'm not saying I won't never do another car. If I could store TC dryly away somewhere, maybe. But I don't want to leave it out this winter. I've blasted it with wax oil and WD-40 everywhere I can on it. It's covered in it, and I've gone down underneath, but it's still not good to leave it out. You know, it not actually doesn't rain in on it. It's totally dry inside, so that's good. But it does need some work. It's a project. It's a good project, TC. Anyway, I think that's it. I'm going to get out of here. So I hope I haven't rambled on too much. And I know it's not a high octane video. What's he been doing for an hour except yabbling on? But hopefully we've had a good chat. And the NEC, we need to get the NEC sorted. We need to all meet up at the NEC. I might have a car there. It'll probably be swampy if I do. Could be on the Carol Nash stand if Carol Nash can get squeeze me in, shoehorn me in there. Hopefully I can tag along. I'm also on the reserve list of the NEC. But if all else fails, I mean, I'll also be on the Mk3 stand, popping onto there. I'll leave a little space round deck chair out, and I'll have a sit down on the Mk3 stand as well. So I'm going to try and get around wherever I am at the NEC. But I'll launch a video about the NEC a couple of weeks before. We're okay, yeah, I think it's coming up early November. But I'll let you know about it, and we can all get all the YouTubers in. Hopefully meet you at the NEC. See you for now. We're off. We're going. Next time you see this, it's going to be painted. We'll catch you soon. Pete C signing off. Cortina City. Nice to chat. Over and out.